Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today I've got a few spooky stories for you. If you enjoy, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below and all that other stuff. Now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? For our first story there's a man in my garden. He's still standing there after 3 days. Written by then Sample 6954. It started 3 nights ago. I was washing dishes when I looked down and saw him. A man. He was at the border of my garden, just beyond the fence, indistinct in the dim light of the street lamp. I'd thought at first that I was imagining it. Maybe a tree casting some strange shadow, but no. He was there. I didn't see his face, but I knew that he was looking at me, just standing, not stirring. A shiver ran down my spine. I live alone. My house borders a small patch of woods, but I've never seen anyone out there before, at least not at night. I was paralyzed in front of the sink, thudding heart racing inside of me. And then, after what felt like forever, I forced myself to turn away. Maybe he was just a drunk man who had wandered farther than he should have. Maybe if I turned around, he would vanish. I went to bed, trying to convince myself that everything was okay. The next morning I peered out the window, and he was gone. A flash of relief swept over me, probably some temporary freak. That night, as I was walking down the building, I gazed outside, and he was back once more. He was in his same spot. He was in the same stance, and he hadn't budged. A prickle of discomfort crept up my spine. I grabbed my phone and hesitated, deciding whether or not to call the police. What would I even say? There's a man standing by my fence. That was not illegal by any means. It's just creepy. So I did something else. I flipped on the garden light. He did not blink. I crept closer to the glass, my breath misting on the cold window. There was nothing. No shifting, no blinking. He just stood there, watching. I closed the curtain and tried to sleep, but my head was racing with thoughts. What if he was planning something? What if he was waiting for me to lower my guard? Tiredness eventually got the better of me. I had to have slept because the next thing I knew, my alarm was blaring. It was morning. I leapt out of bed and ran to the window, and he was gone again. The pattern was repeated the next night, and the night after that. Every evening, exactly at sundown, he would appear, staying in one spot, never moving, never speaking. By the third night, I had broke. I took a flashlight, my heart thudding, and stepped outside onto my rear porch. Cold air stung my face, and my exhalations blasted out in tight, white gusts. He didn't move. I made another step, holding the beam onto him. And that is when I saw his face, or, for better terms, the lack of it. His skin was smooth, featureless. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just a smooth, blank, pale surface, as though something had cleaned him out. I took a step back, a scream caught in my throat. The flashlight flashed. For the first time in 3 nights, he moved. Not much, just a jerk of the head, slow and jerky as though he were nodding to me. And then he took a step forward. I ran. I slammed the door, locked it, and closed the curtains in that entire house. I shook too much to call the police. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen instead and sat against the wall, forcing myself to listen. There was silence. No knocking, no scratching, no creak of footsteps on the porch. But I knew he was still there. I barely slept. When morning came, I forced myself to look. I phoned my friend, told them I was sick, and spent the day at their place. I lied to them. And now I'm home. The sun is setting, and I'm scared to look outside, because I know what I will see. He will be standing there waiting, and sooner or later, he is going to move closer. Now, while we're in between stories, I would like to ask you again to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I would greatly appreciate that. Now on to our next story. You died years ago, so how am I still talking to you? Written by Senior Drummer 1189. I always thought the grief would fade, that with time the pain would dull, the silence would become less deafening, but it hasn't. Every night I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, still haunted by the same thought. You were here and now you're not. It's been 5 years since you died. 5 years, and yet I still hear your voice. It started as a whisper. At first, I thought I was just imagining things. I would catch myself murmuring your name, just a soft echo in the back of my mind. But the response came too clearly. A gentle laugh. Hello, love. I froze, heart pounding, but I told myself it was grief playing tricks on me. Then came the dreams, vivid and real, so much so that when I awoke, I felt you beside me. Your hand on my shoulder, the warmth of your breath against my skin. We would talk like we always had. Laugh, argue, plan our future together. But the strangest thing, you never seemed to remember that you were dead. You've been gone a long time, I whispered once, eyes open wide, unable to understand the strangeness of the moment. How are you here? And you, with the same reassuring smile, just chuckled. I'm here because you're still waiting for me. At first, I thought it was just my heart playing tricks, a desperate attempt to cling to something, anything, that felt like you. But it didn't stop. The conversations continued, growing more frequent, more and more real. You would call me at random times, a voice coming from nowhere, like a shadow you could almost touch. Sometimes I would wake up and your voice would be the first thing I heard. Sometimes in the middle of the day when I was alone in the kitchen, the sound of your laughter would fill the room, but I couldn't see you. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find you. The logical part of me knows something's wrong. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be with me. But the other part, the part that has never let go, the part that still clings to you like a lifeline, welcomes it. How could I not? You're still here. You're still with me. Even if it's not real, even if it's only in my mind, it doesn't matter now. Or does it? There's a constant, nagging voice in my head now, a sense that something's off. You say things sometimes, little things, offhand remarks that make me pause. You mention things I've never told you, memories we've never shared. It's almost as though you know things about me. Things no one else could. I try to dismiss it, tell myself it's just grief, a manifestation of my deepest desires to keep you here. But then last night something changed. I asked you, are you really here, or am I just losing my mind? There was a long silence. I could feel the air grow heavy, thick with something unspoken. When you spoke again, your voice was different, distant, colder, and something else unnerving. Are you sure you want to know? You asked. I don't know what I expected, but it was not that. For the first time, I felt it. Something wasn't right. And now I can't stop wondering who or what I have been talking to all this time. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the stories, and maybe check out my creepypasta playlist, or I have an entitled People Stories playlist if you're into that sort of thing. I will see you all next time. Bye bye, darlings.